So what's up, hi guys? Welcome to Banter Pundits. Today we have here with us Pranav Sahani, Chelsea fanboy. And what do you want to say about Chelsea? कैसा चल रहा है यार Chelsea का games?
It's going well, honestly. I think from a standpoint, if I just look at the tactics or if I just look at the formations and players that we bought, I think it's been a very, very decent season. But a lot of cases of, I think, schoolboy errors and complacency kind of setting in. So last week was, I think, horrible. I think that Leeds game
Horrible,
was
dude, horrible यार. Fail दिया बे. Fail
Matlab
दिया Leeds
nobody
ने.
was
like
expecting
for,
that
for the
result.
first 30 minutes, I was like, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? I was so clueless as to okay, like what are the players doing? Passes and even be it short passes, long passes, holding the ball for too long. It was horrible. It was a disaster last season.
Same feeling मेरे को second week आई थी against
I
Brentford.
think United fans have been saying that. I got the same
For the
feeling
past
last
3
week
years
for the
maybe.
past 7 years. No, I think
7
7
years.
years now.
Damn.
I think 6, 7 years. Yeah. Because I think the last time they won a trophy was probably under Mourinho.
Right.
I'm not counting the Bangkok Cup which you all won this season. That doesn't count.
It's okay, but it
But
means a lot to us.
Oh,
No,
4
but
साल के बाद
I
भाई
think
कोई ट्रॉफी आ रही है यार. थोड़ा तो खुश होने दो हम लोगों को.
no, but honestly, Dick, I think the whole Mourinho season was
Yeah,
probably a
it
high
was
point for you all.
decent. यूरोपा हम लोग
And
जीते थे इस season.
not I think Europa, you all won the Carling also, and one thing
Carling.
three trophies that season
Right.
under Mourinho.
Community Shield, I think so.
Community
Community
Shield,
Shield,
Yeah,
Carling,
Europa
Carabao
and
and
Carabao.
Europa. ब्रो
and
और
I mean honestly, it was
मोरिनो आज तक कहता है कि फिनिशिंग सेकंड विद यूनाइटेड वाज एन अचीवमेंट फॉर मी. मतलब अभी समझ आता है ना कि व्हाई ही वाज सेइंग दैट कि ऐसा क्या डिफिकल्टी था
That
उसको
year,
करके.
that season, City शायद सेंचुरियन मारा था ना उसी
हाँ
season
करेक्ट
में.
करेक्ट.
उसी
I
season.
think
हाँ
so. I
करेक्ट
think
करेक्ट.
so. Yes, 16, 17. Yeah.
उसी में यूनाइटेड आई थिंक 81 कुछ लाके सेकंड आया
82,
था इफ
82,
आई एम नॉट
82,
रॉन्ग. 82
82,
या
18,
वही.
18 points.
करेक्ट करेक्ट करेक्ट.
Thank
सो
you.
प्रणव,
Thank
यू
you.
आर आवर एस्टीम्ड गेस्ट. हमको तेरे से इसलिए बात करना था कि चेल्सी का इतना स्ट्रगलिंग फर्स्ट 3 गेम्स देख रहे हैं. अटैक डिफेंस सब जगह पे कुछ ना कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है. आज स्पेसिफिकली हम डिफेंस के बारे में नहीं बात करना चाहते. हम लोग बात करना चाहते हैं चेल्सी के अटैक को लेकर, जो पिछले काफी सालों से लेकर उस चीज पे प्रॉब्लम चलते आ रही है. सो वी
Correct.
वांट
Number
योर
9.
ओपिनियन ऑन इट कि क्या कहना चाहता है. व्हाट ऑल इज हैपनिंग. ओनर स्विच हो गया, ट्रांसफर विंडो में नया ओनर फर्स्ट टाइम ट्रांसफर विंडो एक्सपीरियंस कर रहा है. सो गो अहेड मैन.
So I think, firstly, when it comes to the ownership switch, I think it was a real shock for all of us. With
Absolutely.
the whole way that the Russia-Ukraine war impacted, football, and especially for Chelsea fans, because for us, Abramovich had been, kind of a messiah
Correct, bro.
ever since he bought the club in 2003, and the kind of money he's pumped in throughout the years. And
Right.
it's not been a piece of business for him, but it's been probably his main business. A lot of people, like, for example, when I
Absolutely.
look at
He was passionate. He was passionate towards the club.
very
And
very
yeah.
and because I don't remember anyone, right, be it United, be it Liverpool, be it except City perhaps, right.
Hey,
Any of the
City ownership
supporters.
happened later on, यार. Chelsea ownership
No,
पहले
I
हुआ था
mean,
उस time पे.
no, with respect to the supporters or the fans screaming that, okay, like what is going on, right? Where even Arsenal, right, where the owners, they're part of the whole system, but they just I remember the Glazers. I mean, even United
Bystanders.
fans, they
Correct.
protest, right? So that kind of involvement in the club on a day-to-day basis, getting involved in transfers, what kind of players you need, investments, and not just
Correct.
transfers, but also in facilities, be it stadiums, be it
Absolutely.
even the women's team, right? He invested so much
Correct.
there
Women's
as well.
team के लिए भी, yeah.
So for us, it was that, oh my god, like this could be the end of an era. And I was literally shaking when I read that, okay, a couple of American owners, and I was like, no, not one more Glazer coming in. I literally, I could not, I just could not. I was talking to a couple of Chelsea supporters, also friends of mine, and we were just discussing this whole thing that, dude, like, what if we have owners like the Glazers who come in? Like, our club is doomed. Like, we are
Dude,
screwed.
exactly. Even Arsenal's ownership is under American ownership बोली ना यार, तो उनका भी सीन खुश नहीं है, या उनका भी मतलब वो पूरा
लास्ट
AFTV
सीजन
वाला
वो
वो
लोग
जो
भी
पूरा
काफी
मूवमेंट था,
प्रोटेस्ट करते थे।
वो पूरा
लास्ट सीजन वो
मूवमेंट
लोग
जो
भी
था
काफी प्रोटेस्ट
क्रॉन्की आउट करके सब, तो AFTV में हमने पूरा देखा है कि क्या सीन है वो लोग का। अभी चेल्सी का भी जब ऐसा, आई कैन इमेजिन मैन, मेरे भी फ्रेंड्स चेल्सी फैंस और भी जो दूसरे थे वो लोग भी यही बोल रहे थे कि शॉक में थे कि यार रोमन जा रहा है, कोई भलता मैनेजर मतलब भलता ओनर ना आए और कुछ भी ऐसा बाई स्टैंडर जैसा बैठे रहे और क्लब में वो इन्वॉल्वमेंट ना दिखाए, बिकॉज दिस गाय यूज्ड टू कम फॉर ईच एंड एवरी गेम टू वॉच आल्सो यार।
Yeah, he used to.
दैट्स अ
He
बिग
और
थिंग।
used to.
पूरे क्लब को इसने चेंज कर दिया है। जब से ये ओन करना स्टार्ट किया चेल्सी को, पूरा क्लब चेंज हो गया, ट्रॉफीज आनी स्टार्ट हुई, प्लेयर्स अच्छे अच्छे लेजेंड्स निकले वहां से।
एब्सोल्युटली।
तो और चेल्सी कभी भी ऐसा हाफ डिसेंट टीम नहीं रहा जब तक वो ओन कर रहा था चेल्सी को। हमेशा चेल्सी वाज अ डिसेंट
Yeah.
टीम। एक यूनाइटेड
No,
चेल्सी का
always,
era था
always competing for
2008 to
honors.
10,
Always competing for honors.
राइट,
ऑलवेज कंपीटिंग फॉर ट्रॉफीज, एग्जैक्टली प्रणव, मतलब
एवरी
दे
ईयर।
वर लाइक ऑलवेज ऑन द मूव कि समथिंग और द अदर में तो compete करके ही लेंगे, कुछ ना कुछ ट्रॉफी उठा के ही मानेंगे, ये वाला वो एक मेंटालिटी उनमें आ गया था जब से ये आ गया था चेल्सी में।
Dude, and I remember the first season he took over, right? 2003 when he bought the club. In his first season, of course, there was Ranieri, right? Then he saw him out, and
करेक्ट।
then he got Jose, right?
राइट,
And in that season, he spent close to almost about 230 million in his first year. Where he got in crazy amount of players, right? He got in Del Hornos, and he got in your Ricardo Carvalho, and he got in
हाँ,
your, Benheim and Thiago and Robin and all those guys, right? So ever since then, I think we knew that, okay, we were in safe hands. And I remember, dude, even when he was on a stadium ban, right, when they played the Champions League final in Porto, so he was banned in England, right, so he couldn't come to England
करेक्ट।
during the 20 season when we won the Champions League. He was there in Porto supporting the club, right? He was there, right? Irrespective, of all the other countries that banned him, he was in Porto. He was, supporting the club, and he was there for 2-3 days, right? 2-3 days
करेक्ट करेक्ट,
prior, and then
मतलब
2-3 days after.
ज्यादा
So
ज्यादा
that
याद
same
मत
level
दिला
of
यार उस चैंपियंस लीग
passion,
फाइनल का, उस चैंपियंस
we
लीग फाइनल
we
का ज्यादा
were
याद
we were
मत दिला।
afraid. Sorry, did I touch a nerve? I'm sorry.
नहीं नहीं, मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि ज्यादा याद मत दिला उस चैंपियंस लीग फाइनल का ब्रो। ठीक है, आई एग्री, अब्रामोविच सही था, अच्छा है, आया सपोर्ट किया, जीते, पर ज्यादा याद मत दिला यार। पहली बार फाइनल खेल रहा था सिटी, तो मेरे लिए तो बहुत शॉकिंग एक्सपीरियंस था वो, मत याद दिला ज्यादा।
बट हावर्ट्स का गोल अच्छा था।
So I think overall the whole process was very, very on the edge for us also, because we're really worried about what kind of ownership and how the club is going to be run now. Right?
So
But
I
then
think
when Boli took over, right? So the first, I think, 1.5 we were also kind of figuring out what is going on. We understood, okay, new ownership and all of that.
करेक्ट।
So we were a little antsy that what's going to happen, because a lot of players were, kind of revolting. Lukaku, everyone, kind of knew was not going to be part of the squad, right?
करेक्ट
But
करेक्ट
because there was no activity going on, we were a little worried that is he going to stay? And if he's going to stay, how's it going to impact the club, the running?
करेक्ट,
What are the owners going to do? Because I
एब्सोल्युटली।
remember one very, very uh, important thing, right? When Abramovich was in charge, there was player power. There was a lot of player power.
करेक्ट
Right? You
करेक्ट।
had stalwarts in the dressing room. You had Drogba, and you had Lampard and Terry, and all these guys. Right? So there's a lot of player power going on because they were close to Abramovich also, right? They came in that whole 2003, 2004 era, and they'd been there throughout. So they were close to him. So the influence of the players on the owner was quite a bit, right? So a couple of managers were kind of sacked because of that also. I don't want to get
Correct,
there, but
correct, dude.
it was
Correct,
the
correct.
case.
Very much, you are right. Like,
So
if your star player was not happy with कोई manager से, तो Roman
exactly.
Abramovich
Like he's
मान
not
जाता
happy
था
with
कि
the
ठीक है, I'll
tactics,
change
or he's
the,
not happy with his position or
yeah,
something. He's close to the owner, so he'll go and then kind of talk and everything. And next thing you
correct.
know, okay, out the door. So that was the important thing, that okay, if Boli comes in, what kind of ownership are we going to have? Is it going to be where again the players have a say? Is the manager going to be backed, or is it going to be run professionally, like how FSG is, right? Liverpool, right? Is it going to be run that way? So for us, it was a thing of wait and watch. But I think when the first thing that he did was, I think, ship Lukaku off back to Inter Milan, and he said that okay, hey, Tuchel is in charge, and whatever Thomas says, we're
We'll
going to
get
back
it.
it up. So that was a
Yeah,
very, very bold statement, right? That you're backing your
correct,
manager
yeah.
100%. And all the players that we went for this transfer market, right? For the first time, right? I don't want to admit it, but for the first time since 2003, they were players the managers wanted,
Correct. Not the
right?
owner wanted or
Yes.
the club
Not
wanted.
what the owner
Yeah.
wanted, right? Because I
Yes.
remember when we bought Ziyech, we bought Pulisic, we bought Havertz, right? We bought Timo,
Werner.
right?
Timo Werner.
Exactly. So all these players were players that Abramovich had, personally liked,
Correct.
and he said that okay,
Correct.
I want these guys in my team, right? Irrespective of who the manager was, or whether there was a manager or wasn't a manager, right? So that goes a long way for the whole Bowley era to kick off, saying that okay, here the manager's in charge because he has to run the team, right?
Right.
If I give him the wrong players, he won't be able to run the squad, so on and so forth. So that was a very, very positive intent, I think, from my side, from the owner's point of view, that they're backing the manager
हाँ,
100%.
सही बोल रहा है.
So as far as that was concerned, when activities started, I said, okay, we're in good hands. We're in hands where the owner is, he's very, very active and he's getting involved
Correct.
day to day. Even with the women's team, we've bought 4 players in the women's team. Right? We've bolstered our midfield, we've bolstered our defense, we've bought a couple of players from Barcelona, I remember. Right?
Wow.
So it definitely goes to say a lot about what his intentions are with
His
respect to the
intentions
club
are
and where he.
absolutely correct. Correct. सही बोल रहा है. I was also
So
shocked to
ownership
see कि
wise,
कैसा होगा. मेरे लिए बस एक ही बैकफॉल जैसा लगा मुझे इसके आने के बाद से was कि like we were very much interested in going behind Cucurella and Brighton was trying to mint it कि चलो Cucurella के लिए बड़े क्लब्स आ रहे हैं तो let's mint how much ever money we can. और एक पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम के बाद हम लोगों ने विड्रॉ कर दिया कि नहीं यार आवर वैल्यूएशन इज 45 और मैक्स टू मैक्स 50, बट ब्राइटन 60 से बच ही नहीं किया. और फिर ब्राइटन चेल्सी गया कि चलो कुकुरेला लेते हैं, ये लोग ने 63 बोल दिया एंड चेल्सी ने हाँ करके 63 में ले लिया. सो वो मुझे थोड़ा शॉकिंग सा लगा.
काफी डेस्परेट साइनिंग लगा कुकुरेला फॉर चेल्सी.
ऐसा ऐसा
Because
परसीव हुआ, बट अभी
they have Chilwell, और Chilwell
correct.
बहुत ही अच्छा प्लेयर है. वो बस लास्ट सीजन ही वाज इंजर्ड और
इंजर्ड.
सब कुछ उतना सही नहीं था उसके साथ, इसलिए उसको खेलता हुआ हम लोगों ने देखा नहीं उतना, बट ही इज अ डिसेंट प्लेयर. सो 63
No,
मिलियन
he is.
कुकुरेला को देने का आई डोंट थिंक कोई मतलब बनता था. मतलब ही
See,
इज
so
डेफिनेटली अ 30 मिलियन प्लेयर बट नॉट अ 63 मिलियन प्लेयर फॉर मी.
so there are two views to this, right? So one, even I kind of agree that maybe Cucurella was someone who we didn't want. Like maybe of a left wing back, had we gone maybe for a striker, I think we would have been better off, like spending 63 million on, let's say, a striker,
करेक्ट, एग्जैक्टली.
right? But if I just look at that position, right? So if I look at Alonso, right? Alonso is great going forward, right?
फॉरवर्ड.
But there are two things that really, really stand out in his play. One is his pace, and the second thing are his defensive abilities. Right? Every time he's played last season, right, wherever he started or when he was subbed on, there were at least one or two mistakes that could have led to goals or led to goals when he was
करेक्ट
involved.
करेक्ट करेक्ट,
And
एब्सोल्युटली.
from the
अलोंसो की
left flank,
अलोंसो की बात कर रहा ना तू?
कुकुरे
exactly.
अलोंसो
नहीं नहीं,
No,
अलोंसो
Alonso.
अलोंसो अलोंसो का डिफेंसिव एरर्स का सबको पता है यार कि डिफेंसिवली उसका कहाँ स्टैंड करता है वो, और
Correct.
अटैकिंग में वो कहाँ स्टैंड करता है करके. देयर इज लाइक अ बिग
Exactly.
डिफरेंस.
So his attacking play is out of the world. Like his attacking
Of
positions,
course.
his striking, positioning, everything is amazing. But a defender's first job is to defend. Right. Then comes the supporting part later.
करेक्ट 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 करेक्ट
So that was with Alonso. Chilwell was amazing. I remember even before he got injured, right, in that game against Juve in the Champions League, he was playing phenomenally well. I think
True, bro.
he was scoring he scored almost in every of the 4 games that he had played.
Right,
So he
right,
scored
right.
four
That
four
season.
goals in 4 games
Yes, bro.
and a couple of
He was scoring
assists
also.
also.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then he got injured in that Juve game, right? So, and it was a major injury, right? So it wasn't that, okay, he had a hamstring injury or something. He had an
No.
ACL,
Yeah.
which is, which puts people out for 6, 8, 10 months, 1 year. And for people to kind of regenerate the form
Come
that they
back.
had before the injury takes a year, year
Will
and a
take
half.
time. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he's fit, that's great. But then for him to get back to his previous form, right?
Yeah.
Pre-injury, that could take a little bit of time, right? So which is why I think we went for Cucurella and said that, okay, listen, we have a player who is, a square peg for a square hole, just go for it.
But
Right? And
instead
he's
of
attacking, he's quick.
Cucurella, for me, Chelsea को एक कोई भी अटैकर साइन करना चाहिए था, स्पेशली सेंटर फॉरवर्ड, बिकॉज 60 मिलियन में सिटी ने हालांड लिया और
Right.
मतलब मेरे को ये चीज बिल्कुल समझ में नहीं आता कि इफ अ प्लेयर लाइक हालांड वो 60 मिलियन में जा रहा है, देन हम लोग मतलब चेल्सी कुकुरेला को क्यों 63 मिलियन देकर खरीद रही है, जबकि उनको एक्चुअल नीड है सेंटर फॉरवर्ड का. मतलब यू गाइस
Correct.
रियली नीड अ स्ट्राइकर राइट नाउ, बिकॉज अभी
Correct.
नंबर लाइन तुम लोग के पास है नहीं. टैमी अब्राहम
Right.
गया, वर्नर गया, लुकाकू वो शिट लास्ट सीजन. तो और स्पेशली लुकाकू वाज आल्सो 100 मिलियन प्लेयर.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
मतलब तू भाई मतलब लास्ट सीजन तो मेरे को लगता नहीं है, और इस सीजन भी यही चीज हुआ. डार्विन नूनेज 100 मिलियन प्लेयर, completely not worth it. Last season Lukaku and Grealish.
So what was surprising, right, for me is when the Cucurella deal happened, Werner was still part of the squad.
Right.
Correct. Exactly. Warner तब तक निकला नहीं था.
Werner wasn't out. So everyone was under the assumption, and there were no rumors with respect to Werner, right? We knew Lukaku. Okay, Lukaku was the first one who shipped off. So
Lukaku का तो
we
पता था.
probably had a feeling that, okay, maybe Broha and Werner are going to be the two strikers, and they're going to be rotated and all of that. But then when Werner was sold off to Leipzig again, I was like, oh my word, like, what are we going to do? Because we have Broha, but Broha is young, right? So he's very, very raw. Of course,
He's only
very
20,
talented.
yeah. He's
We
only
saw,
20. He's only
correct, but
20,
we
man.
saw what he did at Southampton last season.
Right.
Correct,
And
correct.
especially in a team where, the quality is probably 10 times lesser as compared to maybe a team like Chelsea, right? Where you have players like Mount, you have players like James, you have Chilwell, you've got Kante, all these guys. So for me, I was just wondering that, okay, what are we going to do about the striker position? Because we actually, if I just go to look at it, we flourished the year before that with the number 9.
Exactly.
The floating number 9. So probably what I was thinking that, okay, if again we're deploying the number 9, right, and we got Sterling, right? So I probably thought that, okay, hey, maybe, and Sterling is versatile, right? He can play left wing, right wing.
I also
play
thought
as a false 9, right? He can play as a striker also. So I thought, okay, maybe Sterling is going to play up front and then going to be.
I also thought Sterling might play up top for you guys because he's got the versatility to play left, center, right, anywhere he can adjust. And
and he fits in Tuchel's system, right? Like
yes.
Tuchel's center forwards are quick. Like his entire game is on, having a quick center forward who can, make those
quick attack.
So I said, okay, Sterling is a good buy, and that will be for 40, 45 million. I was like, wow, this is a steal, honestly. For
last year
the talent
contract
and for the experience and everything, I think 45 million for Sterling was definitely a steal. So I thought, okay, Sterling is going to probably play up front as maybe a false 9, or let's say as a striker, and you're going to have 2 wings and the usual system that we have. But then when there was no transfer activity on the strikers, I was like, okay, we're going to be a little bit short-handed up front.
सी अपफ्रंट का सीन क्या हो गया ना प्रणव, जो 2 जन थे तुम्हारे पास वो लोग पुराने क्लब्स चले गए अपने अपने, और दोनों वापस स्ट्राइक करने भी लग गए वहां पे जाके, और अभी तक स्ट्राइकर आया नहीं. और यू गाइस हैव शोन द ट्रस्ट, इफ आई मे से, ऑन द एग्जिस्टिंग प्लेयर्स लाइक हैवर्ट्स, और अभी स्टर्लिंग नया आया है, लाइक अभी तूने बोला कि ही कैन प्ले एनीवेयर. बट जैसा 3 गेम गया है, yes, I do believe that Tuchel trusts him. उसको 90 minutes ऑलमोस्ट हर गेम खिलाया. I think सेकंड गेम या थर्ड गेम में ही उसको सब ऑफ किया है शायद, बस लास्ट के 5-10 मिनट्स,
No,
दैट्स
but he's
इट.
played 84, 85 minutes. He's
80
played
80 plus
almost
minutes,
every game.
yeah, he's shown the
Correct.
trust from the manager कि स्टर्लिंग तू है, तू खेल करके, और हैवर्ट्स को ही अप टॉप खिला रहा है वो. और हैवर्ट्स
Correct.
का भी हमने सबने मिस देखा है कि वो कैसा खेल रहा है अभी फिलहाल सेंटर फॉरवर्ड में. स्पर्स के अगेंस्ट तो उसने वो एक सेटर वाला टैप इन मिस किया जो रीस जेम्स ने उसको खिलाया. तो नंबर
नॉट
9 का
इवन दिस सीजन भाई,
एब्सोल्युटली नीड है तुमको अभी.
लास्ट सीजन भी हावर्ट्स का कोई भी मेरे को याद नहीं है वैसा परफॉर्मेंस था जो
देख
मतलब
guys,
So
I have the
last season, I
statistics.
think
I
last
have the
season I think
statistics
was
with
hit
me.
and miss. Last season was hit and miss for
No,
Kai. Like there were moments where he, showed some amazing touches, passes, finishes, all of
last
that. And
season.
then some places you were like, क्या कर रहा है ये बंदा?
ब्लैंक लॉस्ट.
See, he's like यार वो बड़े games जब भी आते हैं he turns up. Like last season भी, the reason why you're telling this is because last season he scored for you all in the Club World Cup final, and he scored for you all in the Super Cup. Sorry, he assisted the goal for Hakim Ziyech in the
Correct.
Super Cup final. So Super Cup match,
Correct.
trophy match में, then Champions League final भी उसने ठोका है तुम्हारे लिए. तो हैवर्ट्स का इसलिए वो एक सेफ्टी ब्रैकेट आ जाता है, बिकॉज इन द बिग गेम्स व्हेन इट मैटर्ड द मोस्ट ही इज द वन हु हैज टर्न्ड अप फॉर यू ऑल. सो उस वजह से वो एक सेफ्टी ब्रैकेट वो मेंटेन करता है. बट आई हैव द स्टैटिस्टिक्स हियर विद मी व्हिच आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर कि ही इज ओनली 23 years old. वो जब से अभी
Correct.
आया है चेल्सी, फर्स्ट सीजन ही प्लेड लाइक अराउंड 2500 minutes द होल सीजन, एंड ही स्कोर्ड 9
Correct.
goals, assisted 8 goals. सेकंड सीजन
Right.
अभी
Right.
लास्ट ईयर था उसका, he played little bit more. He played like 3,300 minutes approximately, and he scored 14 goals and assisted 6. But when we
Correct.
compare it to his days at Bayer Leverkusen, where he was like scoring 18 goals and 9 assists, or scoring 20 goals and 7 assists by playing the
Correct.
similar amount of time, which is like 3,500 minutes wale bracket pe. So the here question lies is Leverkusen is, no disrespect to them, but a little bit below par team than Chelsea, right?
Correct. Correct.
With the
Also the
quality that
league,
Chelsea
also the
has.
league, Bundesliga and Premier
Also the
League is
league.
very
The
different.
league makes a big difference, right? So if I just look at the Premier League, right, it is very physical, right? Like
Right.
super physical, right? Which is why
Correct.
when you have players coming in, right, the first thing that the managers say that okay, he's going to take time to adjust to the pace of the league, because it's a quick league, right? When you look at the Bundesliga, or when you look at, let's say, the other leagues, it's a little more open. Right? You look at the Bundesliga,
Correct.
it's a lot of free-flowing, attacking,
Yeah.
not physical at all, right? It's a lot of open
Not
spaces.
physical at
So
all.
you have
Space
time, you
मिलेगा.
have space,
हाँ.
not that quick. But when you look at the Premier League, right, especially with managers like Klopp, like Pep,
Pep.
right, you have Arteta now, right? If you look at these teams now, Arsenal, City, Liverpool, they
Correct.
all believe in high pressing. Right?
Absolutely.
Right? High pressing is, the way to go. If you look at Bayern, let's say, or Dortmund in the Bundesliga, they don't play pressing at all. It's more of counter-attacking football than anything else. So it's a lot
Absolutely
more
not.
fluid, and they rely on that. They wait for the chances to come. Here, it's not that. Right? Here, because of the physicality, because of the pace of the game, you need to adapt. Which is why, if you look at Havertz's first season also, right, the first few games, which was, I think, under Lampard, right, he was one being made to play out of position, but he was struggling to adapt, right, with respect to the work rate, with respect to the physicality. Right, he was struggling, like literally struggling. This season,
bro,
I
you
know
remember Pranav यार चैंपियंस लीग फाइनल के बाद इंटरव्यूअर ने उसको क्वेश्चन पूछा था कि द होल चैंपियंस लीग सीजन यू हैवंट स्कोर्ड अ सिंगल गोल एंड दिस इज योर फर्स्ट एंड ओनली गोल इन द फाइनल. ही सेज आई डोंट गिव अ फक, वी हैव वन द चैंपियंस लीग करके. दैट वाज हिज एटीट्यूड यार, कि ही वाज सो फ्रस्ट्रेटेड. मतलब हिज फर्स्ट सीजन वाज एब्सोल्युटली, जहां पे वो स्ट्रगल कर रहा था कि मैं कैसे इधर एडजस्ट हूं, क्या सीन है करके बिठा रहा है, और उधर जीतने के बाद भी जब इंटरव्यू में पूछ रहा है, वो बीइंग द यंगस्टर ही इज, उसके मुंह से निकल गया बे वैसा.
So, like, honestly, at that point, if I was in his place, I would have said the same thing. Like, what do you want? Like, I just scored the winning goal in the game. Like, why do you care? If I haven't performed throughout the season, doesn't matter. I just won my team the largest trophy in Europe, so it doesn't really matter. Right? But when I look at it, right, so he's been in the league now he's played 2 seasons. This is his third season now, right?
Correct.
And honestly, he's adapted. I would say, if I look at his work rate, if I look at his aggressiveness, it has gone up multifold over the past couple
मल्टी
seasons,
या
right?
ब्रो, वो लफड़े अफड़े
His
करने में भी
work rate
उतर
has been
जाता है, लाइक
unbelievable.
चेल्सी का
Yeah, yeah.
कुछ भी मैटर रहता है तो
I
फिजिकलिटी
think against I think Tottenham, when they went on to get the corner and then score from the corner, which was the 87th, 88th minute, he was running. He was running. He was sprinting up the pitch, right? So his work rate is definitely improved, but the quality that he has that really, really needs to come out, right? With respect to
कम
his finishing or with respect to him getting in attacking positions and all of that. His finishing has been very, very average, is what I would say.
ट्रू ट्रू
There's
ट्रू
no doubt
ट्रू
on his talent. There's no doubt on his ability, and he's going to improve. He's only going to improve. He's 23, right? So he's got his best
करेक्ट ब्रो
years to
बट
develop
बट
and mature. But he needs
ट्रू
more
दैट ट्रू दैट
competition for sure, right? So when you get world-class players in certain positions, right? For example, we've got Sterling now on the wing, right? So that is direct competition for people like Pulisic, like Ziyech, right? So they know they have to pull themselves up, right? Because Sterling in the City squad, I think he was a starter for y'all even last season, right? And I think one of
Bro,
Pep's most
I'll
dependent
share,
players.
I'll share some statistics about Sterling as well, like how consistent he has been for us. ठीक है,
Correct.
lots of memes come in, बहुत सारे memes आते हैं, उसका मजाक उड़ाया जाता है with the way he runs, with the way he misses chances. I absolutely agree.
No, but
मैं भी frustrated fan
world
हूँ जो
class.
chances उसका miss देखता हूँ. But the guy always turns up with numbers. Last season also
Yeah,
with City, he played like some 3,000 odd minutes in the whole
correct.
in all competitions. He has scored 17 goals, assisted 9, and the previous season to that, 14 goals, 12 assists, again playing 3,500 minutes. And then back to that, जब आर्टेटा था हमारे coaching staff में, is when Sterling was at his
Correct.
lethal best. In those two seasons,
Right.
he has scored like 31 goals and assisted 10 and 25 goals and assisted 17. Those two seasons के numbers are like mad
No,
shit.
so which is why, right? So that's why I said 45 million. I feel Sterling is a steal, like for his
He is a steal.
Totally,
accomplishments, and
totally.
in the Premier League for a top side for the champions. I mean, he's been lethal. He's been Pep's most reliant man also on the wings, right? When it comes to
Correct.
attacking or getting into the
Correct.
final third. So Sterling, I know for a fact that okay, he might be adjusting to the system now, right? Because playing under Pep for so many seasons and now it's a complete switchover of tactics and managers and
Correct.
positioning. So he might take a couple of more games to adapt, but I know for a fact that he's going to come good. 3, 4,
He's
5
only
games later,
twenty-seven,
he's going to come
bro.
good.
He's
Yeah,
still only 27.
exactly. Exactly. And he's played for top sides. He's played for Liverpool. His breakthrough was with Liverpool, joined City, and now Chelsea again. So he's only joined the A category of
Top.
teams right there. Right? There's been no dip in his
So,
form. Broja, I don't know, man. I'm just so at odds with this whole thing because last season Southampton so deserving. You know, I mean, he just put everything on the mat and they were ready to buy him for almost 35 million. They were ready to put 35 million on the table
Correct,
to
correct,
buy him.
correct, correct.
Right? And it would have made sense where you could say that okay, you kind of develop as a striker, improve your all-round game, and then a few years later, if let's say you rise up to a level where we say okay, we have a buyback clause and we get you back, then it's something else. Like what we've done with Tammy, right? But
totally.
with
Correct.
Broha and not starting at all, like he's come on as a sub in the Tottenham game, I think for 3 or 4 minutes and all of that. So I don't know, but for the talent and for the inputs that he brings to the team, I think he's much more deserving of minutes.
Totally, totally, bhai. Last season he was
Absolutely,
a
भाई, क्योंकि अभी
star at
फिलहाल जब
Southampton. He almost scored in every matches. मतलब
Yeah,
second half के बाद after Christmas he was on fire. He played really decent
fire dude,
football.
yeah.
काफी सही था और मेरे को अभी
so
समझ में नहीं आता कि चेल्सी क्यों नहीं खिला रही है इसको जबकि यू हैव अ प्रॉपर नंबर
जब
9
नंबर 9
है
क्रिटिकल नहीं है तो इसको मिनट्स
correct.
दिया जा
एग्जैक्टली
सकता है ना.
एग्जैक्टली
No, so I think what's happening with that whole thing is right that Tuchel trusts Havertz so much, like with his ability. I mean, we all know
Correct.
he's talented. We all know that he's got the work rate, and he puts in 100% for the team. There is absolutely no doubt about it. But when I look at an out and out striker, right? If I look at Broha, he's got probably all the qualities that we need, right? He's quick, he's physical, right? He links up with the midfield, which is most important, right? Playing as a number 9, right? As a lone striker, you need that.
Correct.
You need a player who can bring your midfielders, your wing backs into the game, right? What Giroud was for us, in 2020.
Correct. Exactly.
Right? So, and I still cannot forget that we sold Giroud to Milan, or we let him go to Milan. I think that was a mistake, because last year he was running riot for Milan in Serie A, right? And I know for a fact that
अबे वो तो
if we had
वो
had
तो
him,
तुम्हारे टीम से ना प्रणव, नहीं तुम्हारे टीम से जो भी बाहर निकलते हैं वो लोग बाहर जाके मचाते ही है यार।
नहीं, but
टोमोरी भी
Giroud,
ले ले। डिफेंसिवली यू गाइस आर स्ट्रगलिंग, बट फिकायो टोमोरी वहां जाके मचा रहा है अभी।
इंग्लिश टीम
so I
क्वालिफाई
think
है भाई उसको।
नहीं, तो I think 2-3 things we got wrong, right? So I think वो transition के phase में क्या हो रहा था with the ownership, up in the air. All these, like we had Rudiger, we had Tomori, we sold off. I don't know why, but Lampard, I don't know whether it was his call or the management's call. But Tomori, I was like, no, like fuck no, because he was promising. He's young and he was good every game that he played. He was probably in the top 3 performers for the team whenever he was playing. Right, so Tomori, I don't know. I think a loan would have been much more beneficial. I think for him and for us also, not a direct sell.
See, exactly.
So Tomori, we messed up with, right?
See, like
Rudiger.
मतलब देख लाइक लोन रूडिगर तो चल ठीक है, जान दे। ही ऑल्सो वांटेड टू हैव अ न्यू चैलेंज करके वो निकला, तो थोड़ा एक म्यूचुअल कंसेंट भी उसमें दिया जा सकता है कि उसको बेचा नहीं
Correct.
करके। और ही ऑल्सो वांटेड टू हैव अ न्यू चैलेंज करके, और रियल मैड्रिड गया है यार। मतलब हर प्लेयर का मतलब ड्रीम होता है कि लेट्स गो एंड प्ले
He's
फॉर रियल
gone to
मैड्रिड।
the biggest team in
या
the world.
सो वो उस चीज पे कोई कुछ बोल नहीं सकते अभी। बट टॉकिंग अबाउट लोन स्पेल्स, व्हाई वो इम्पोर्टेंट है अभी, इज लाइक बिग एग्जांपल शोन बाय आर्सेनल। विलियम सलीबा को 3 इयर्स इन अ रो लोन पे भेजा वो लोग ने, और वो जो डेवलप होके आया है अभी आर्सेनल में खेलने के लिए, ही इज लुकिंग सो सॉलिड डूड। जो गोल मारा उसने फर्स्ट गेम डेब्यू पे, ही वाज सो सॉलिड, बैंग ऑन। ही गॉट द मैन ऑफ द मैच, प्लेयर ऑफ द मैच अवार्ड। और गोल भी जो उसने मारा, लाइक आउट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड यार। मतलब
और बहुत टाइम के बाद
जिंचेंको तो सीधा
सलीबा के आने के
पिच पे
बाद
जिंचेंको तो सीधा पिच पे गिर गया था, ऐसा कि क्या मार दिया है भाई ने।
सलीबा के आने के बाद वो एक डिफेंसिवली स्ट्रांग दिख रही है अभी आर्सेनल। बहुत टाइम के बाद मैंने ये चीज देखी है।
Yeah, agreed.
तुम्हारे
I think
और
Ben White has brought in a lot of stability also. Ben White was, of course, there, but I think with Saliba, they're much more
But right
covered.
now, Ben White
करेक्ट
is
करेक्ट
playing as a right
राइट
back.
बैक राइट
Right
बैक
back.
खेल रहा है ब्रो, बेन राइट। या
So
सो
But he's
मतलब
डोंट
versatile,
नो
right?
व्हाट,
So
बट
I think the whole reason that they invested in Ben White was that he is versatile. Can play center, can play left,
वर्सटाइल।
true,
can play
true,
right.
true.
करेक्ट
He can play CDM also.
करेक्ट
Correct. I mean, CDM, I think Arsenal are covered in a lot of ways. But
या दे हैव अ लॉट ऑफ
I think
ऑप्शंस।
Thomas
defensively, that
Partey,
switch is
Xhaka.
so important.
बट भाई चेल्सी
But
का मतलब तुम लोग हर सीजन इतने सारे लोग को लोन पे भेजते हो। लाइक वी सी सो मेनी प्लेयर्स ऑफ योर्स गो एंड प्ले आउटसाइड, बट देन व्हाई डोंट वी सी कि कोई भी एक प्लेयर आउटसाइड खेल के आके टीम में अच्छा सेट होके मस्त खेल रहा है। जैसे लाइक लेट्स टेक एग्जांपल ऑफ कॉनर गैलेगर। 2 years इन अ रो वेस्ट ब्रॉम एंड पैलेस में खेला, एंड अच्छा खेला दोनों सीजन, ठीक है। But then now he's back in the Chelsea team, but we don't see him play in the same confidence or affecting the game in the similar fashion. Like he got a start against Leeds United, but clearly
correct.
that didn't work out for you all. So समझ नहीं आ रहा कि what's that issue कि लोन पे जाके आने के बाद
So,
अच्छे से नहीं खेलते।
so the thing is, this is what I feel, right? So until, like I said, Abramovich was there, right? We had a very different approach to the whole loan system, right? Where we used to send players out on loan, right? And once they came back from their loan, we used to assess, okay, are they good enough for the first team? If yes, okay, great. If not, sell them to another team for a hefty profit, right? We did the same thing with we did it with Lukaku, we did it with De Bruyne, we did it with Salah, right? We did it with all these guys, and the same people today are
Stars.
Top
playing
players,
at world class teams and are
top
world
players.
class players, right? So our approach then, I think, was very different. Now I think if I look at it with the new ownership that's coming, I think there could be a change of thought process of how they want to approach it.
True that.
So
Like I
that
know
time will
that
come.
Tammy Abraham भी टैमी एब्राहम भी वैसा ही
Honestly,
स्ट्राइकर था जो लोन पे इतने बार चैंपियनशिप में 2 साल लोन पे खेला आई थिंक एस्टन विला एंड
स्वानसी
ब्रिस्टल या ब्रिस्टल सिटी आई थिंक सो एंड देन स्वानसी
स्वानसी
में भी प्रीमियर लीग लोन पे गया सो ही वाज आल्सो अ प्रोडक्ट जस्ट लाइक दैट जो लोन पे जा जाके आया और फिर व्हेन ही गॉट द चांस फॉर चेल्सी वन होल सीजन व्हेन ही
correct,
प्लेड he was the reason why you guys came finished top मतलब his goals contributed
correct.
for you guys to finish top 4 right
So
like
I
उस season
think
he scored
that
like
season
18
was, I think,
18
a
goals in all competitions.
change for us. Right, it was a big change for us because that was a season where we were banned from the transfer market. Like we couldn't buy players, right?
Correct.
So we had to rely on in-house talent. Right. Fortunately, we had players like
Yes.
Reece James. We had players like Mason Mount. We had players like Gilmore,
Mason
Tammy
Mount.
Abraham. Right. So that had that transfer ban not been there, these guys would have probably still been on loan somewhere, or they would have been sold off. This is what I feel. I could be wrong. I could be wrong,
Feel
but
that.
I
True,
think
true,
that was a
true. Yeah.
breakthrough season for all these youngsters to kind of
A lot
showcase,
of
right?
players.
And if you look at it from the other side, right, Chelsea has the best youth academy in the world, right? You look at the talent, you look
True
at the
that.
trophies that
True,
they've
true.
won, right, over the past decade,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
They are the best youth academy in the world, right? But the only thing is that trust in youth, right? Like for example, when I look at clubs like Barcelona, or when I look at clubs like City right now, right? The trust in their academies is very high. Like Barcelona, we know La Masia since so many years, and the likes of Messi and Xavi and Pujols, right? Your Pedris
Correct.
and Gavis. So they've trusted their youth system right since the start, right? Which is why it's paid off. I remember, I think this is 2010 or 2011. I remember Johan Cruyff, when he was the manager at Barcelona, he said that it's my dream that one day each and every playing 11 of this club will come from La
In
Masia.
Barcelona.
And people laughed at that, right? At that time.
Oh, okay.
This is way back, right? In the 80s,
Uh,
90s. And in 2010-11, they fielded a squad which had 11 players from La Masia.
Damas, yeah.
So
Epic, na,
so
bro.
the trust that's there, right? Even when I look at City right now, ever since Guardiola's come in, a lot of players have broken through the youth ranks, right? When
From
look
the
at
academy. Yeah,
Foden
yeah,
and
yeah.
Zinchenko
Cole
and
Palmer.
Palmer
Cole
now, correct,
Palmer, Liam Delap. There are a lot of youngsters abhi
correct.
coming into
So
the
ever
scene.
since
Cole Palmer
Guardiola
abhi
came,
first team ka part and parcel hai.
so this revolution is kind of begun there also, right? So we need that
Correct, correct,
happening
correct.
at our club, especially when our youth team is winning everything. They're winning the league and the FA
Exactly,
Cups, for fun.
exactly.
So I think a little more faith there would go a long way. But I think coming back to Broha, I think he deserves a very fair chance. Like a couple of games through, like he needs at least about 3-4 games on the trot, to one find his feet, because it'll take him 1 or 2 games to adjust, and then finally, to start contributing and start getting there.
right.
Correct, correct. Or the one and the main important question,
Wow.
is he the man in need? Is he the man in need अभी? यही चाहिए क्या तुम्हें अभी sort out करने के लिए?
So um, so that there is one thing that I will kind of agree with, that he is still, I think at 33, he is still up there,
33, yes.
right? He's still up there.
He's
He's
33?
still
Yeah,
very good,
bro.
and he still has the pace, still has the finishing. Maybe slacked off maybe a little bit, but that's because it is natural, right? But he's still quick, right? His finishing is still very good. His position play is amazing, and
See, bro, मतलब पेस वेस भले गिरा होगा मतलब व्हेन यू से कि स्टिल देयर इज बिकॉज अभी लास्ट सीजन अपना 21-22 जो खत्म हुआ ही वेंट ऑन इन द लेटर हाफ टुवर्ड्स
correct,
बार्सिलोना एंड ही स्कोर्ड अ लॉट ऑफ गोल्स विद देम एंड एंडेड द
correct,
सीजन विद लाइक counting Arsenal's half season and Barcelona का season, he scored 20 goals in all competitions
20,
in just
correct,
2500 minutes in all competition. और Premier
right,
League की बात
right,
करें तो we know that he has won the Golden Boot while playing in Arsenal by scoring
correct,
22
correct.
goals in the league.
No,
So we
he's
know
world
कि
class. Like, nothing beats the fact that Aubameyang is up there. So he could be an answer, right? He could be he. So there are two ways, right? This is how I look at it. He he's a player that we don't want right now, but we need him,
Right.
need him,
right?
yeah, bro. That's true.
So what we want is, a world-class striker, young, who has the ability to
Young,
carry an attack with him,
correct.
right? So not what we want, but what we need in terms of the team, right? Because, like I said, he's been a player who's worked with Tuchel at Dortmund, and they've run riot in the Bundesliga, right? He's run riot during those times. So he trusts him, and he has a very, very good relationship with Tuchel. He fits into Tuchel's system. So I think he could be that answer what we're looking for, that short-term answer for the next 2 years. Could be that. Till we say, okay, we mold Broha into the next Diego Costa or Didier Drogba. But until then, I think Aubameyang could be the same sort of player what Giroud was for us for 2-3 years.
Giroud, exactly. I was
Right?
coming to that only. Like his role
Yeah,
might be of that for a short term, what do you say,
a fix.
resolution of the team कि short
Correct,
term के
correct.
लिए कुछ अगर ठीक करवा दे टीम के tweaking के लिए, so he's like the bang on answer कि short term requirement के लिए तो ये perfect player है जो
Correct.
आके deliver कर दे और संभाल ले for at least 1 to
And
2
he's a senior
seasons.
player also, right? He's
Right.
been the
Correct,
captain of Arsenal, right? He's a captain for his
correct,
national team, right? For Gabon.
correct.
So he's a very senior figure. So when he comes into the team or when he comes in the dressing room, he comes with so much of experience, he comes so much of wisdom, right? So I think that would help nurture young players like Havertz, Pulisic, Mount,
Absolutely.
The
right?
leadership
James.
quality.
So I think that would help. Yeah, leadership is going to be a very, very key factor, right? I mean, fortunately, we've
Absolutely.
got players like
Aspily,
Aspi, Thiago,
Thiago
Koulibaly,
Silva.
right? We've got
Jorginho.
that. Jorginho. So we've got these guys already. So with him coming in, I
Correct,
think it'll
correct.
bring a lot of stability in terms of the thought process, that winner's mentality,
Bro,
which
it
is,
will.
so
I
much
believe कि अगर
important.
ये अगर आ जाएगा टीम में तो ऑटोमेटिकली ड्रेसिंग रूम से वो एक प्रेशर की ओ शिट हु इज गोना स्कोर दीज मनी अमाउंट ऑफ गोल्स वो निकल जाएगा इसके आने से लाइक वो एक ईजन हो जाएगा कि चल ठीक है वी गॉट समवन लाइक ओबा हु कैन टर्न अप विद द गोल्स लाइक ही ब्रो हमने देखा है वो आस्टन में भी जब खेलता था ही रिक्वायर्स ओनली दोस गिने चुने 2-3 चांस वो उतने में कन्वर्ट
Correct.
कर देगा वो पूरा गेम डेड नजर आएगा तेरे को कि वो गंदा खेल रहा है करके बट वो 2 चांस जो दे देगा ना उसमें वो फिनिश कर देगा गेम ब्रो
No, but see, if I take a look at it, even this season, right? Even this season, right? We scored 3 goals so far. Okay. The first one was a penalty by Jorginho, right? The 2 that we scored against Tottenham were both by defenders, right? One
करेक्ट
by our
रीस
centre
जेम्स
back,
एंड
one by our right wing back.
या
So if I look at it upfront, right, like I said, I think that creativity is lacking, right, in terms of whoever's playing, right, be it Mount or be it whoever. We're missing Kovacic very, very badly, though. That I can assure you,
एब्सोल्युटली ब्रो
right?
कोचिस
That whole Kovacic and Kante combination is very, very lethal, right?
ट्रू
Because Kante is someone who can break attacks. He's someone who can hold the line. And Kovacic is someone who can carry the ball, carry the ball 30, 40 yards. He travels with the ball, right? So that kind of sets your entire attack into motion, especially with your wing backs like Cucurella and James, running down the flanks, and you have Mount and Pulisic and maybe Havertz up front. So that brings a lot of kind of attacking players into the fold. With Georgie and Kante, now Kante is also he's been out since the Tottenham game. He got injured in the Tottenham game. And Leeds, you know how the Leeds game turned out. So he's going to be a big miss for sure. But I think with Kovacic coming in, he's someone who's a combative midfielder who comes in, brings in the tackles, the passing, carries the ball
absolutely
ahead. So he's that all-rounder for us who we need right now in the central park.
Bro, if I'm not wrong, last season I think Kovacic was your top assists maker in the Premier League. I
Yeah,
think so,
yeah.
right?
And a couple of
So
phenomenal goals also.
Against
exactly,
Liverpool.
exactly,
Oh,
exactly. वर्ल्डली गोल था भाई वो लिवरपूल के अगेंस्ट जो उसने मारा था तो कोचिज
Crazy
इज
goal.
समबडी जो काफी वाइटल रहा है तुम्हारे लिए फॉर आई थिंक कंटिन्यूअसली 2-3 सीजंस अभी मतलब ही इज बीन अ
yeah.
वाइटल पार्ट योर टीम आई थिंक उसके फर्स्ट सीजन या सेकंड सीजन आई थिंक ही वाज आई थिंक चेल्सी प्लेयर ऑफ द सीजन आल्सो इफ आई एम नॉट
Yeah,
रॉन्ग
the second season when he
सेकंड
came over.
सीजन
Yeah,
या
when we bought him.
सो वही बता देता है कि कोचिच का वैल्यू कितना है तुम्हारी टीम में करके एंड यू वर सेइंग आल्सो ऑफ व्हाइल वी वर रिकॉर्डिंग दैट कि चेल्सी में ऐसा एक क्रिएटिव मिडफील्डर थोड़ा लैकिंग है
No,
व्हेन
you
यू
need that.
कंपेयर इट टू
I mean,
टॉप टीम
the kind of work rate and the kind of bite that Kovacic gets into that midfield, is just second to none. Second to none. And the kind of talent and, like I said, the hard work that he has, just mind blowing. So him and Kante is, kind of perfect in the team, because Kante holds the entire defensive line, can break attacks, and Kovacic is your man who goes ahead with the ball. Of course, he tracks back. There's no doubt about it. But he's someone who can carry a ball ahead. Even Kante, last season when I saw him carrying the ball
Bro,
forward,
Kante,
so he's added that one thing to his game. Defensively,
ब्रो कांटे में
there's
वो
no one better than
वो
him.
बॉल के साथ जो वो कैरी करके स्प्रिंट करता है ना, वो अलग है
नेक्स्ट लेवल,
कांटे का ब्रो.
नेक्स्ट
इज
लेवल है.
थोड़ा लीथल है. ठीक है, आई अग्री ही मे नॉट हैव द आई फॉर द परफेक्ट पास आफ्टर डूइंग दैट. ठीक है, बट
विजन,
द जॉब ऑफ
कैरिंग.
गेटिंग द बॉल अहेड ना, कांटे भाई, कांटे
Correct.
डेंजरसली
But
लाता है
see, the
बॉल
thing is, he's
आगे,
not a
फुल
creator,
काउंटर.
right?
करेक्ट.
So his job is not of a
होल्डिंग.
creator where he's
His
looking for the
job is
perfect pass,
holding.
right? Correct. He's a defensive midfielder throughout, and his job is to protect the back line and break attacks up. But the fact that he carries the ball ahead, and through a couple of goals where he's carried the ball 20, 30 yards, and I remember against Leicester last season where he carried the ball, I think 30 yards, and smacked it with his weaker foot.
हाँ,
Right. So, and that was one side which Kante didn't have to his game, where he was carrying the ball forward. He was always someone who used to break attacks. But
करेक्ट.
carrying the attack with you and then, scoring a pile driver from 30 yards out, that was one side which we kind of saw last season. And this season also, he's kind of continuing that. But now that hamstring injury, I don't know how many weeks are we talking about, maybe 6-8 weeks perhaps. But
Not that
hoping,
much. 16 weeks should not be the case. I would hope that 4 to 5 weeks he should be back max to max.
yeah, but hamstring injuries, you can never say. Kovacic is out since months with a hamstring.
It depends
So
कि किस
hamstring
grade का
injuries,
injury है करके, तो yeah, true
yeah,
true.
and the thing is the niggling injuries, right? So even if, let's say, you feel great, but then on one sprint you kind of feel your hamstring, you're like,
Yeah,
okay,
it
shit,
can
it's
give
gonna
away.
record again.
Yeah. True.
So hamstrings are tricky. So I think the best thing would be just give him the amount of time that he needs, and to recover, comes back 100% fit. And with respect to, I think Connor is someone who has a lot of talent. I think he can bring a lot to the team. But last game where we saw him play was out of his position. That was not his natural position. Right?
Correct.
He's
True
not
that.
a defensive midfielder, right? He's
He's a
not
cam.
someone who plays in a Kante position. He's someone who's a box-to-box midfielder, right? Someone like your Lampard who
Correct.
makes in, the late runs and all of that. He's that sort of a midfielder.
Someone like,
So
sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Lampard.
Someone like,
someone like Lampard, like how Lampard was, a box-to-box midfielder,
correct.
because he makes the pass in the final third and then comes into the box, drifts into the box, right? Asks for the ball whenever he's free or makes that final pass. So he's that sort of a player. Definitely not a defensive midfielder.
True.
So
So
out of positions, we've been playing a couple of players out of position. We've been playing, a couple of players not playing at all, in fact. So I think that has
ब्रो
to
कम
change.
ऑन यार, आउट ऑफ पोजीशन तो मैंने सबसे ज्यादा टुशेल को ही किसी को खिलाते हुए देखा है. He has played Pulisic in the wing back role, Hudson Odoi in the wing back role,
हडसन
Ruben
ओडोय यार,
Loftus-Cheek
क्या
in the wing
टैलेंट है
back
हडसन
role.
ओडोय. वो पता नहीं किधर
No,
गया.
but dude, Hudson Odoi, I remember, right? Whenever he played in that wing back role, he used to play amazingly well.
Exactly.
That was also the
Exactly.
time where James was injured. Because this was again back to last season, the Juve
Correct.
clash, right? So Chilwell and James, both of them got injured in that game. And to cover up, you need someone who's quick, who's defensive, and Hudson was like, CHO was our natural, fallback, because we didn't have anyone
हाँ.
in right wing back.
और
We
भाई
had
अभी
Aspi,
राइट विंग
but
बैक
then
हमारे पास है ही नहीं ना अभी. दूसरा कोई राइट विंग बैक
no,
है ही
not
नहीं ना.
right
मतलब
now.
एस्पी
Not right now.
एस्पी है, ठीक है, बट एस्पी अभी सीनियर रोल में जाने वाला है यार. ही इज गोना प्ले दैट राइट सेंटर बैक रोल ओनली, एंड ऑन ऑफ गेम्स ही खेलेगा वो.
So we've been seeing Loftus-Cheek playing that right wing back role
रोल.
past couple of games,
करेक्ट.
and amazingly well, like amazingly well, right? So I would really want to see Loftus-Cheek in a defensive midfielder role, which is his natural position, right? He is someone like a
Correct.
Kovacic, right, who breaks attacks down, carries the ball ahead with him, right?
Carries the
Takes attacks
ball.
with him.
Correct.
So, and he's very, very talented. Like, he is one player I think I've heard every manager talk about, be it Lampard, be it Conte, be it Sari, right? Everyone has had good things and just amazing things to say about Lakshya. So I think he is one player who really should develop
Watch out
this
for.
season because
Hmm.
because he's 100% fit. Like for the first time in maybe 3 or 4 seasons where he's had some niggling injuries here or there. This is the first season where he started, 100% fit. So if he gets the right
Correct.
kind of opportunities, I think he can be a massive player for us, especially in that defensive midfielder role.
Hopefully, man. Let's see. It was really nice having you, Pranav. अच्छा लगा कि चेल्सी के
Hey,
बारे में
pleasure,
इतना
man.
इनपुट्स मिला हमें. और जो भी देख रहे हैं, please support us, like us, subscribe us. We'll be coming up with more and more football content, and keep enjoying with us, guys. And we'll be back soon.
See you guys. Thanks for having me.
Watch football without some banter, guys. Subscribe करना please.